Hello and welcome to this drink review of a drink called Good Idea, Sparkling Lingon. So lingon means lingon berry, and it's not my favorite. I mean, I don't mind lingonberries, but it's never like a flavor that I kind of like go out of my way to get or something. And I don't even like it with savory things. Like if I'm gonna have lingonberries, I tend to rather have it in something sweet. Even though it's kind of like traditionally eaten with meatballs and like brown sauce and stuff. Alright, I mean, hmm. I mean, I would think this was just like a generic, like, forest berry smell, is kind of like what I'm getting from this. It's fine. I mean, I would not buy it again. Would I guess lingonberries from that taste? No, I wouldn't. Um, but, I mean, it's fine. I mean, I can finish the can. I do think it has a little bit of like a weird aftertaste. Like the aftertaste is a bit like bittery sweet that I don't like. But other than that, it's kind of like, I mean, it's not a soda or something. It's just flavored waters. It's basically like sparkling water, is what this is. You're kind of getting that level of, which is weird that I'm getting like that bittery sweetness because it's not sweetened. But I'm getting that. I think the other one, was it blueberries? What was the other one that I had from these? Uh, Here we go. What was it? Yeah, it was blueberries. That one was like a bit more pleasant. I wouldn't buy it again, but I thought that one was better than this. This one has an aftertaste that kind of ruins it. Because, it makes it so that it doesn't feel like refreshing to drink. Which, why do you drink water? Like the good thing about water is that after you drink it, you're like, it feels refreshing. And that's kind of because it does have taste. Water does taste, but um, you know what I mean. I'm here like dying. I was gonna talk a little bit about my health, but I've decided, I'll wait until this month. We'll see what happens because it's gonna get pretty intense in the second and third week of this month. So that is this first, yeah, the second and third week of this month is gonna be pretty intense, and we'll see how things goes. Don't want to get my hopes up too high. But yeah, anyways, a comment that I actually like, because I have actually already finished the Pokemon Renegade Let's Play. That one was done. It's up. I think kind of like 2 or 3 days ago is when they come up, and I think I recorded those probably like 3 or 4 days ago. Episode 17 and 18 had audio problems because Microsoft, for some reason, I don't know why it does it, from time to time it just changes my microphone settings. Specifically in the in data. The out data doesn't seem to get affected, but the in data does from time to time. Why? Who knows? where it just bumps it up to 100%. And episode 17, I think originally that episode was like 60 minutes. I have edited down to like 15 because of the audio problems. So you basically don't get any of like the random trainers. That one is basically just the last Lucas battle is basically what that is. And then episode 18, because I did not want the last episode to be just audio problems. So I made 2 versions. The members only version is the one with audio problems, which is just my mic peaking a lot. And so that's members only, and that is basically just a normal episode. While the one that will become public, like the YouTube public one, is me doing ADR, basically post commentary. I don't know, what would you call that? When you watch that, please tell me, what do you call when you basically commentate on something you've already played? I think ADR. What does ADR even stand for? I mean, I've heard it talked about. ADR. Is it even called ADR? Is it automated dialogue replacement? That doesn't sound right. It's not automated. Re-recording audio. Yeah, that's basically what it is, but what does it stand for? Okay. I've lost interest now. I couldn't find out what it was in like 40 seconds. Don't care that much about it. Anyways, comment by Duplin on episode 11. Duplin said, "You probably saw the leaks and the memes. The lore of Regigigas is really cool. It's Gnosticism, basically. He's trying to slay God Arceus for trapping him in the material world. And his race of giants, which was made extinct by Arceus and turned into elemental plates and all that." I did not know that. That's actually not something I knew about. I mean, I do know they're the golems, right? Regigigas. And then Regigigas has created, the other Regis and made them, they're golems, is what they are. Not necessarily giants. But maybe Regigigas himself is a giant, and the other Regis that he had created are the golems. Because I do remember the thing about Arceus hashing from the egg and then defeating all these other like creatures that then turn into the plates. And that would actually be quite interesting because there is no normal plate. There are plates for all the other, but not normal. So it could be a pretty cool thing that where Regigigas is the last survivor of that. That's why there is no normal plate. I do think maybe later on they introduced a normal plate as a way to reverse Arceus. That's Arceus normal plate. But I don't think it was never intended to exist, right? I think like normal or like legend, yeah. The blank plate was introduced in Gen 8. And then the legend plate is Legends Arceus, right? Yeah, when you use it on Arceus, it becomes a normal type. But it's not the same as the other plates, right? Oh yeah, and the blank plate is also Legends Arceus. Okay. So those two, we can kind of like ignore them a bit. And it says that you get that as a reward for catching Regigigas. So Uh, so actually, that's pretty interesting. I like that theory that Regigigas is the last surviving of the cosmos things that when Arceus. So that kind of might make it so that Regigigas is Regigigas then technically a Pokemon? I don't know. Um, but otherwise, Regigigas kind of like created continents and stuff like that. I kind of wish they would go more into that stuff, Pokemon. Um, Not necessarily in the main games. I do think the main games should just be a bit more like just like kid friendly. They shouldn't have that much story. I think the main games they suffer a lot, the newer ones, by having too much story in them. Too many cutscenes, too much dialogue. They shouldn't be like that. I mean, the original games, to be fair, the first 3 ones basically had no story to them, right? And I think that's what kind of like those base games should have. I do like introducing some of this more esoteric stuff in like games like Legends Arceus, like those side games, or even now I will say Colosseum and Pokemon XD didn't do this. I think games like that is where this type of lore and stuff should be explored a bit. Because I think Arceus and the pantheon that we saw during the leaks, very interesting stuff, and I don't think they followed up on that, sadly enough, with later on, because I think that thing was specifically, was it made during Gen 5? Or was it Gen 4? I think maybe during Gen 4, but some of the things that you see there have some Gen 5 elements to it, because I do think the original dragon was there. Like, for example, I would love to see the original dragon, right? Seeing Zekrom, Kyurem, and Reshiram fused together again and see how did the original dragon look. Like getting a Legends game of that. Like maybe we can get a Legend game where you go back to when the original dragon split. And that would be super cool. But I would not want that in a mainline game. Mainline games shouldn't be heavy on the story. They should be, quite casual. With the ability. They should be casual, but it shouldn't be like super easy, They should be able, like, you can make them very easy, but also not. I don't know. And then I liked how you spread depleting the credit, which is actually quite fun because I don't. You mentioned that on episode 12, and I don't know if I actually said the word depleting the credit in episode 12, but my original name for episode 13 was Giratina and depleting the credit, but not spelt the way you spelled it by spelling CRIT. Oh god, what is that called? The Lingon, and then ED. I just spelled it as CRITTED, but I like that spelling a bit more, that you spelled it like Lazul. I changed it for episode 13. That's actually gonna go public today. Yes. When will this come out? This will probably come out tomorrow. I'm recording this on the 5th. So I'll probably put this on the 6th. But yeah, the whole story is 18 episodes long. I've been playing a decent amount of Wolfenstein, I'd say. I did what's called first look of Wolfenstein Youngblood last month. And that like I couldn't handle more than 18 minutes. I'm like, fuck me. The main characters, I do think the gimmick might be quite interesting, where you're playing like the two sisters. But I hate that type of character, especially since they're supposed to be like, it feels a bit too unserious. They're supposed to be fighting, the Nazis, and they're kind of like 2025, like 2020s, like ironic girls. Like, it feels super weird. And I don't like the power suits, so I stopped playing that. Then I decided to play Wolfenstein The Old Blood and actually finish that game. I think the game only took me like 5 or 6 hours, and I thought it was fine. There comes a point in that game as well, I think, when you reach the guy in the bar, him and that girl. That's kind of like when the gang kind of like nosedives. And then you start seeing like these zombie Nazis. And then the flesh golem. Like, the game really falters like the last third. Like, the last third of the game is pretty bad. Or it's horrific, I would say. But I ended up finishing it. So I then tried to play Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, and oh my god, the beginning of that game was even worse than Youngblood. At least in Youngblood you were able to skip the cutscenes and all that. Not in this one. Like, some you could, some you couldn't. And I was so fucking bored, I did not care at all. When you kind of like, see how he grew up, his dad was a racist. And he kind of like talked bad about his mom, who was Jewish, and he talked bad about, obviously, the girl that he's gonna end up having his children with, by calling her like oh, she's a nigger, blah blah blah. No son of mine is gonna be. You can like, that could matter at all if it didn't feel like the voice. I think the voice actor for the dad does a horrific job, because he does a super bad job. Like, it's like he's afraid to say the word like nigger or Jew in a bad connotation. But he's supposed to do that because they're supposed to show that the dad is a racist and stuff like that. But the voice actor was obviously afraid to actually do that, and you can really tell. So it feels like neutered. It feels like safe edge. Like, they want to portray a racist, but they're not. They are afraid to actually do it. Like, it feels like, why even do it if you're not gonna go the full way, right? And also, let us fucking skip that. Why can't I skip? It took like an hour to actually start playing the game. 1 fucking hour to play the game. What the fuck? And then, at first, like, oh. Then when I started playing, I'm like, oh, this is pretty funny. Because the first mission is you in a wheelchair. You're basically fighting Nazis while in a wheelchair. And that was actually very fun. I would think the first level of you in the wheelchair is very fun. I liked playing that. That was enjoyed. It was good, fun gameplay. But then you come up with what is another trope of the new Wolfenstein games, where the main bad guy is a woman, like a Fraulein. That's crazy. Which I enjoy that. The first Wolfenstein game that I played, like when it comes to like the newer Wolfenstein games, I don't remember what that one was called. I played it a long time ago. All of the Wolfenstein games I've just gotten from Prime or for free or whatever. Like, I've never bought one of the newer Wolfenstein games. I got them from Prime or the GOG and stuff like that. Epic. And when you get to the end of that level, when you get into the story, and like, fuck me. And her like fat daughter. And he'll be like, no, I don't want to kill, blah blah blah. The game takes a nosedive. You get like this power suit. And you're like, oh man. I would have rather just the whole game just being us in a fucking wheelchair, because as soon as you get that power suit, the game becomes just fucking boring. It basically becomes Wolfenstein the Youngblood. Even though a little bit better. I think Wolfenstein the Youngblood actual gameplay, like the shooting, all that felt very weird. I didn't like it. It wasn't just that I hated the protagonist. Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus. I played until you escape the submarine. And then I was kind of like, you know, I can't really play more. That one I might have played. I mean, it probably was 90 minutes because 1 hour of cutscenes. And then actually more than 1 hour of cutscenes. And just story that you were not able to skip. Imagine if I didn't skip the few things that I was able to skip in that. It probably would have been 2 hours before I could even play. And I enjoyed the first like tutorial. I think the tutorial level of you in a wheelchair. That was fun. But man, I would not want to play more of that game. But yeah, out of the Wolfenstein games, I've now played 4 of the newer Wolfenstein games. The first one I enjoyed. I mean, that one also falters at the end when you start fighting the actual bad guy. Is he just called Wolfenstein? Like the main bad guy that... I don't know. It was the first game of the new Wolfenstein. That one was like, it was a 6 out of 9. The Old Blood, I would say it was like a 5 out of 9. I mean, it really turns to shit. Actually, now I think about it, the old one was probably a 5 out of 9. The Old Blood was more like also a 5 out of 9. Yeah, they're kind of like pretty comparable. And then the Youngblood and the new Colossus, probably the Youngblood of 2 out of 9. And Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, probably also 2 out of 9. With me just playing like the first mission on both of those games. At least the Youngblood, the reason why it's on the same level as the new Colossus, even though I actually enjoyed the first level of the new Colossus and not of the Youngblood, is because you were able to skip all the cutscenes. And also I think the gimmick of playing 2 sisters, while you're playing one of the sisters, that is a co-op game, so that could actually be pretty fun. The only thing you really need would be to just mute all voice lines, I guess. But yeah, that was that. Hopefully my salmon hasn't become cold.